Hey everybody, this is Rex Bear with Leak Project. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are. Now, I did a podcast yesterday on the book of Enoch, and I did an analysis on that book as well as the book of giants that came out of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And the Nephilim are literally described as 450 feet tall, 450 foot tall entities, beings, giants, man-eaters. It's incredible. But have you heard of the Enochian Calls? Are you familiar with the language of angels? Now, John Dee, as well as Edward Kelley, were 16th century mediums, occultists, and very good at their craft. Matter of fact, they were so good, they were employed by the crown at that point, and very, very powerful individuals. As a matter of fact, so powerful that the Enochian Calls, literally the language of angels, was created. Now, in 1581, Dee mentioned in his personal journals that God had sent good angels to communicate directly with prophets. And in 1582, Dee teamed up with Edward Kelley. He used several other seers previously, and with Kelley's help as a scryer, he set out to establish a lasting contact with angels. And their work resulted, among other things, in the Enochian language, angelical language. There's been a lot of people that have done their best to debunk it, and they haven't been able to. Some people say it's a construct of these two guys. Some people say it's way above and beyond that it's literally the connection to angels. Now, if that's the case, if this is literally divine, angelic language, then how cool would it be to be able to speak with the divine, to be able to talk to angels and communicate with them like I am communicating with you now? I'm actually going to read 7 of the calls. I'm going to read 7 of the calls before the end of this podcast, and I'd love to get your analysis on it. Now, on top of that, according to Dee's journals, this language was actually the language God used to create the world, and it was later used by Adam to speak with God and with the angels and to name all things in existence. Now, after his fall from paradise, Adam lost the language and had to construct a form of Proto-Hebrew based upon his vague memory of the angelical language. So, according to multiple researchers and also the journals of Dee, this is literally the gateway to these angels. So there's been a lot of speculation on how effective or how dangerous these calls are, and I'd like to go over some of this with you guys as well. Now, there's a really cool website called condor.de. Now, it's spelled Kondor, and this is an excerpt from that website. If you did not have any contact with Enochian angel magic, you may think of this rather weird name of the complete magic system. According to the angels that spoke during the sessions, the language that appears throughout the Enochian calls is the one that was used by the angels that transferred Enoch into heaven. The name of the language and the whole system was named after Enoch. Now, if you didn't know this, Metatron, very powerful angel, was Enoch. Enoch actually transformed into Metatron. That's incredible. So the other language that was used in the Liber Logoth is the language Adam had spoken before they were expelled from paradise. There is also the interesting information that Choronzon should be responsible for that incident, because this name is the true name of the devil. However, this bit of information is quite illuminating, because Choronzon is residing in the 10th Aether, Zax, and is the creator and destroyer of form, being the materializing moment of our physical universe we live in. When Adam was expelled from paradise and the time began, he was not able to speak at all, because he no longer was able to speak the angelic language. pure necessity forced him to develop the first language, which can be spoken by humans. It is being called the original Hebraic, which only had the division of 3, 7, and 12 letters in common with the Hebrew we know today. The language could not emanate the powers the angelic language has. Throughout his life, John Dee was fascinated by the lost book of Enoch. It is quite possible that he possessed an Ethiopian version of it, which he could not read, of course, taking the mythological origins for granted in one way or the other. The angelic language is quite old. So that's the end of the excerpt. Now, I'm going to go ahead and actually read 7 of the keys. So the first key, and this is in English. I'm not going to read it in Enochian because I can't give it justice by doing that. And there's also another language that you can read these keys in, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it in English here as best as I can. The first key. I reign over you, saith the God of Lustus, in power exalted, above the firmaments of wrath, in whose hands the sun is a sword, and the moon as a through-thrusting fire, which measureth your garments in the midst of my vestures, and trust you together as the palms of my hands, whose seats I garnished with the fire of gathering, and beautified your garments with admiration, to whom I made a law to govern the holy ones, and delivered you a rod with the ark of knowledge. Moreover, you lifted up your voices, and swear obedience and faith to him that lieth and triumpheth, whose beginning is not, nor end cannot be, which shineth as a flame in the midst of your palace, and reigneth amongst you as a balance of righteousness and truth. More, therefore, and show yourselves, open the mysteries of your creation. Be friendly unto me, for I am the servant of this same your God, the true worshipper of the highest. Now, that's the first key. When you read, even in the English version, it's interesting because the letters, the way they're spelled out, the reason I had to do a few pauses there, has very strange spellings. For example, I reign over you. Well, reign is spelled R-A-Y-N-G. Over is spelled O-U-E-R. Then the God of Lustus, I don't know if it's supposed to be the God of justice, but it's spelled L-U-S-T-I-C-E. Power is spelled P-O-W-R-E. The sun is spelled S-O-N-N-E. The moon is spelled M-O-N-E. Through is spelled T-H-R-O-W-G-H. So that just kind of gives you an idea of a little bit more difficult to read these and get the right pronunciation. So that is the first key. Now I'm going to go to the second key here. Very symbolic, very metaphoric. And is this really calling to the angels? Did I just say a prayer to a specific angel? Did I just essentially summon a specific archetype or entity of the higher realms? Well, here's the second key. Can the wings of the winds understand your voice of wonder? O you, the second of the first, whom the burning flames have framed within the depth of my laws, whom I have prepared as cups for a wedding, or as the flowers and the beauty for the chambers of righteousness. Stronger are your feet than the barren stone, and mightier are your voices than the manifold winds. For you are become a building such as not, but in the mind of the all-powerful. Arise, saith the first, move thereof unto his servants. Show yourselves in power, and make me a strong seething, for I am of him that lieth forever. That's the second key. Third key. Behold, saith your God, I am a circle on whose hands stand 12 kingdoms. Sis are the seats of living breath, the rest are as sharp sickles, or the horns of death, wherein the creatures of ye earth are to are not, except mine own hand, which sleep and shall rise. In the first I made you stewards, and placed you in seats 12 of government, giving unto every one of you power successfully over 456, the true ages of time, to the intent that form ye highest vessels, and the corners of your governments you might work my power. powering down the fires of life and increase continually on the earth. Thus you are become the skirts of justice and truth, in the name of the same your God. Lift up, I say, yourselves. Behold, his mercies flourish in name is become mighty amongst us, in whom we say, move, descend, and apply yourselves unto us as unto the partakers of the secret wisdom of your creation. Now, it's interesting. That's the end of the third key. When I said among verse, it's because it's literally spelled VS. So us is spelled with a V, and then when it says in whom we say move, well, whom is spelled WHOME, we say move is spelled MOUE. So the U and the V were swapped out with us and move, and I don't know why. I'm hoping there's somebody that's listening to this that's been studying the Enochian keys for longer than I have and can actually maybe even come on to Leak Project and give your interpretation and break this down better for us here on the show. One of the things I like about this program is there's a lot of people that have actually asked me specifically to read certain treaties and texts and give my analysis on it. Well, so far, when you read these keys, in my opinion, they're like hymns. They're like psalms. They're like poems of, like religious poems almost. I mean, this is almost something like you would read out of maybe even the Holy Bible in Psalms or something like that. It's very interesting. It does have a little bit of a occult undertone to it, like a mystical undertone, I should say. So that's the third key. We'll get to the fourth key here. I have set my feet in the south and have locked about me, saying, are not the thunders of increased numbered 33, which range in the second angel, under whom I have placed 9639, whom none hath yet numbered but one, in whom the second beginning of things are, and wax strong, which also successfully are the number of time. And their powers are as the first 456. Arise, you sons of pleasure, and visit the earth, for I am the Lord your God, which is, and lieth in the name of the Creator. Move and show yourselves as pleasant deliverers, that you may praise him amongst the sons of men. So, why is the number 9,639 in there and not hath yet numbered but one? I don't understand that at all. The powers are as the first 456. Well, I'm not really sure that I can tell you what that means either. I mean, obviously you've got the continuation numbers, the 4, 5, 6. It's 15 if you come to the sum of that, so it'd be 6. The sum of that would be 6. That's all I've got right now. Maybe it connects to some particular graph or chart, or I'm sure there's something out there that it's got to mean. Maybe you can let me know. The fourth key. Now let's go to the fifth key. The mighty sounds have entered in ye third angel, and are become as olives in ye. Olive mont, looking with gladness upon the earth, and dwelling in the brightness of the heavens as continual comforts, unto whom I fastened pillars of gladness, 19, and gave them vessels to water the earth with her creature, and they are the brothers of the first and second, and the beginning of their own seats, which are garnished with continually burning amps, 69,636, whose numbers are as the first. The ends, and ye contests of time, therefore come you and obey your creation, visit us in peace and comfort, conclude us as receivers of your mysteries, for why, O Lord, and Mister is all one. This is way over my head. The sixth key. The spirits of ye fourth angel are 9, mighty in the firmament of waters, whom the first hath planted a torment to the wicked, and a garland to the righteous, giving unto them fiery darts to vein the earth, and 7,699 continual workmen whose courses visit with comfort the earth, and are in government and continuance as the second and the third. Wherefore, hearken unto my voice. I have talked of you, and I move you in power and presence, whose works shall be a song of honor and the praise of your God in your creation. All right, the seventh key. Now, there's 49 keys. And then also, just so you guys know, these 49 keys have a front and a back. And if you read the angelic language, it's extremely detailed, extremely difficult to understand. I'm talking years and years and years of research. Some people have spent their entire lives studying this, and it's way above many people's intellect even then. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and read the seventh key, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say, what your interpretation is of these specific keys. And then I'm also going to give you some reference points if you want to look at the actual tablets specifically and see what the language patterns look like, what the actual letters are, how they're formed and created. It's nothing short of extraordinary. So the seventh key, here we go. The east is a house of virgins, singing praises amongst the flames of first glory, wherein the Lord hath opened his mouth. And they are become 28, living, dwelling in whom the strength of man rejoice. And they are apparelled with ornaments. Sorry, guys. And they are apparelled with ornaments of brightness, such as work wonders of all creatures, whose kingdoms and continuance are as the third and fourth strong. Towers and places of comfort, the seats of mercy and continuance. O you, servants of mercy, move, appear, sing praises unto the Creator, and be mighty amongst us, for to this remembrance is given power, and our strength waxeth strong in our Comforter. Now, once again, about a quarter of these words are spelled differently. And there's a specific reason for that because of the way that it was presented to D. A lot of people, when they hear about Enochian magic or Edward Kelley or John Dee, the first thing that comes to their mind is evil and wicked and dark and demonic. I feel obviously most of that is completely untrue and has been smeared based upon ignorance and certain people's agendas. Literally, these could be calls to angels. And if that's the case, especially if you are a religious person, if you believe in the Abrahamic texts, if you are a Christian, if you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, if you're Gnostic, or even if you're not of a specific religion or no religion. Let's say you're atheist or you are agnostic. How is, especially if you look at the whole scheme of things, based upon what we're taught to believe, especially based upon a religious standpoint, how would these Enochian calls be evil if they're actually the angels that Enoch talked about in the book of Enoch? I think it's fascinating. I'm going to do a lot more research into this, and I'm going to find out what different types of modules are needed to actually go on a journey. Now, we're just talking about this in study form. So it's not like we're summoning angels at this point, by any means. And I think you're going to have to be really careful if you go that far at that specific level. Make as many precautions as you can to protect yourself and make sure that you're powerful enough and you're ready to go that far. Right now, this is just literally an analysis. If anybody decides to go further with these calls, and if I decide to go further, then I'm going to make sure that everything is put in place to do it correctly. Because you should be able to verify something. You should be able to, just like if you measure a foot 12 inches, you've got something uniform every time. There should be a cause and effect to everything. So if you can do something properly, you should be able to get that same outcome every time under the same parameters. And that's what I want to know about these Enochian calls. Was this just an elaborate hoax to make money, fame, and fortune back in the day working for the crown? Or is this legit? Has anybody ever had an experience with Enochian magic or having an Enochian encounter with one of these angels? LeakProject.com. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/clandestine Time Lord. Question everything. Thank you for being here with me, and be the change you want to see. That the Enochian Calls, literally the language of angels, was created. Now, in 1581, Dee mentioned in his personal journals that God had sent good angels to communicate directly with prophets. And in 1582, Dee teamed up with Edward Kelley. He used several other seers previously, and with Kelley's help as a scryer, he set out to establish a lasting contact with angels. And hey, everybody, this is Rex Bear with Leak Project. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are. Now, I did a podcast yesterday on the Book of Enoch, and I did an analysis on that book as well as the Book of Giants that came out of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And the Nephilim are literally described as 450 foot tall entities, beings, giants, man-eaters. It's incredible. But have you heard of the Enochian Calls? Their work resulted, among other things, in the Enochian language, Angelic Language. There's been a lot of people that have done their best to debunk it, and they haven't been able to. Some people say it's a construct of these two guys. Some people say it's way above and beyond that it's literally the connection to angels. Now, if that's the case, if this is literally divine angelic language, then how cool would it be to be able to speak with the divine, to be able to talk to angels and communicate with them like I am communicating with you now? I'm actually going to read 7 of the calls. I'm going to read 7 of the calls before the end of this podcast, and I'd love to get your analysis on it. Now, on top of that, according to Dee's journals, this language was actually the language God used to create the world, and it was later used by Adam to speak with God and with the angels and to name all things. Are you familiar with the language of angels? Now, John Dee, as well as Edward Kelley, were 16th century mediums, occultists, and very good at their craft. Matter of fact, they were so good, they were employed by the crown at that point, and very, very powerful individuals. As a matter of fact, so powerful